Police are still searching for whoever is behind a deadly shooting that killed 4 people during a Halloween party in Orinda. And firefighters now have a grip on the destructive KINCADE fire that's still burning more than 1 week after it sparked up. Hello, I'm Ella Sogomonian. You're watching KRON On.
The whole neighborhood heard it, and then people were screaming and fleeing down the hill.
4 people were killed and several others were taken to a hospital after partygoers were met with gunfire. The violence was carried out inside an Orinda mansion on Halloween, and police haven't arrested anybody yet. We've learned that the home was rented out for only 13 people through an Airbnb, but the party was advertised on social media and drew about 100 people to this quiet neighborhood. KRON On's Dan Kerman reports on the investigation.
We heard a bunch of gunshots.
Gunfire at an illegal Halloween party in Orinda. It happened just before 11 Thursday night, leading to chaos for party guests and neighbors.
Over 100 people fleeing from a residence where there had been a gathering.
I think everybody in our neighborhood immediately locked their doors and started messaging each other, trying to figure out what was going on, because this just doesn't happen in Orinda.
Police say when they arrived on scene, they found 3 people dead inside. A 4th died at the hospital and 4 others were injured, though they couldn't say how. They also can't say what weapons were used or how many suspects there might be. But they don't believe there's an ongoing threat to the community.
We don't have any reason to believe that they stayed in the area. We don't have any reason to believe that they were from Orinda. The house was rented by people who were not from Orinda.
Neighbors say most who live around here were not happy with the short-term rental.
A couple of our neighbors had already raised complaints about the noise that was going on up there.
City officials confirm up until a party complaint Halloween night, shortly before the shooting, there hasn't been a complaint since back in February. And they say the homeowner was cited and corrections were made.
They were very receptive and they were very cooperative and said they would comply.
City officials have now asked Airbnb to remove the listing and will consider tighter restrictions on short-term rentals. The city manager also confirms at 9:35 Halloween night they received a party complaint from neighbors. He also says that neighbors contacted police, but police cannot confirm that they responded to that complaint, and if they did, what time it happened. In Orinda, Dan Kerman, KRON 4 News.
And police have released the names of the people who were killed. The victims were identified as 22-year-old Tyon Farley of Antioch, 24-year-old Omar Taylor of Pittsburgh, 23-year-old Raymond Hill Jr. of San Francisco and Oakland, and 29-year-old Javin County of Sausalito and Richmond. Neighbors say that they were horrified by the chaotic scene as people ran down the winding road screaming. One woman tells KRON On that she called the police several times before the shooting because she had a bad feeling that something terrible would happen. KRON On's Dan Thorne reports.
A deadly shooting at a Halloween party rattles a quiet Orinda neighborhood. Neighbors say they saw dozens of cars lining the street along Knickerbocker Lane Thursday night and anticipated things rapidly going south.
I knew something wasn't going to go well. It was just too many people and too rowdy, and it was getting out of control very quickly.
Jeannie Patrick says she called police after seeing lots of kids smoking and drinking in the street. Then, after no response from police, she heard gunshots.
And it sounded like a popping almost. At first, I wasn't sure that that's what I heard. You hear pop, 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 but then when you see the kids running, you're definitely sure.
Patrick says she then saw more than 100 kids screaming and scattering away from the party on Lucille Way.
We saw kids running into our driveway. Our neighbor called and said, there's kids hiding in our backyard. We don't know if they're, what's going on. They're telling us there's a man with a gun. So it was really quite scary for a number of hours knowing what was going on.
The chaos and flashing police lights throughout the night kept Patrick from getting any sleep. She's now worried about this kind of activity happening again.
I wish that Orinda police would respond quicker because it really makes me feel unsafe to live here and have to make 3 calls to get them up here to do their job.
Those KRON On's Dan Thorne reporting. Airbnb has released the following statement saying, "We are horrified by this tragedy and are in close communication with Chief David Cook of Orinda and to offer our support with his investigation into who committed this senseless violence. Additionally, we have taken action to ban the booking guest from our platform. Our thoughts are with the loved ones of the victims of this aberrant act, as well as the neighbors of the home." Another big story that we're following. Frustration with power company PG&E is mounting following the state's most widespread blackouts. San Jose Mayor Sam Liccardo and Senator Jim Beall spoke in a news conference to announce that they're going to be using state funding to reimburse the city for the power outage.
I know it's easy for any of us as politicians to say we're going to get the money out of PG&E, but I think PG&E stock we've seen is nearly worthless at this point, and the focus needs to be on solutions moving forward. I've obviously proposed an idea for how we can move forward with a transformed PG&E, because obviously, I think as Senator Bell put it well, their focus has not been on the safety and reliability of the system. This is a company that's distributed $7 million to shareholders over the last decade, in which it is clearly underinvested in its infrastructure. It distributed $11 million to corporate executives in bonuses this year, a year in which they've been in bankruptcy. And so I have no confidence that there will be money coming from PG&E to solve this problem. We have to solve it ourselves.
I think they have to focus on dealing with their equipment and their maintenance of their equipment immediately, and reduce expenditures in things like giving their high salaried employees bonuses and other kinds of expenditures. Let's focus on quickly repairing and rehabilitating all the equipment to reduce these devastating fires that we had in California. We've heard about a 10-year program. No. We want them to do it in 3 years. Let's advocate an immediate expenditure and a priority for fixing all the equipment and making the equipment safe by removing vegetation around the equipment. This has to be done immediately. I'd like to point out that we have equipment that goes over our mountains around San Jose. And we could very well have the same kind of situation here as we had in Sonoma, Mendocino, Napa County. We can have the same situation right here. And we need to fix up that equipment, and I want to hold them accountable for that.
Governor Gavin Newsom is taking action to get PG&E out of bankruptcy as soon as possible. He explains that the sooner the utility company is out of bankruptcy, well, the sooner that they can get started on some much-needed change. Our Capitol Bureau reporter Ashley Zavala reports.
Right now, PG&E is expected to get out of bankruptcy by June 30th. That's about 8 months away. Governor Gavin Newsom is hoping to broker a deal to speed up the process.
PG&E as we know it cannot persist and continue. It has to be completely transformed, culturally transformed, operationally transformed.
Governor Gavin Newsom is calling on all parties in PG&E's bankruptcy to come to Sacramento next week to sort out the proceedings sooner. The governor has said major changes to PG&E cannot happen until it's out of bankruptcy. The utility under constant criticism for its role in wildfires and widespread power shutoffs.
PG&E, as we know it, may or may not be able to figure this out. If they cannot, we are not going to sit around and be passive.
Newsom says the state and now a new strike team is exploring any and all backup plans in the event PG&E doesn't make major changes on its own. The governor not ruling out a government takeover. Newsom's administration also hired advisors to envision a 21st century utility that he says will match the state's already modern emergency management.
We have world-class firefighters doing world-class work every single day, and I couldn't be more proud of them. What we don't have, world-class utilities.
So with months left in PG&E's bankruptcy and wildfire season underway, Governor Gavin Newsom still says he does not think a special legislative session is needed because of this effort and others that are already in progress. Reporting in Sacramento, Ashley Zavala, KRON 4 News.
We'll see near freezing temperatures in the morning in parts of the North Bay again, but as meteorologist Mabrisa Rodriguez shows us, things will warm up as the day goes on.
A frost advisory will go into effect during the overnight hours starting at 2 o'clock Saturday morning through 9 o'clock Saturday morning, and that's because of sub-freezing temperatures at or slightly below freezing from 29 to 35 degrees for the interior valleys of the North Bay area. But everyone else waking up into the 40s and then warming up about 5 to 10 degrees above average, tracking low 70s throughout the San Francisco Peninsula, including downtown San Francisco, 72 degrees, 71 degrees degrees for those of you at Half Moon Bay. So starting and ending the day with plenty of sunshine, light to breezy wind speeds. Any wind gusts that we do see will be about 15 miles per hour or less. Millbrae and Burlingame warming up into the mid 70s, low 70s for those of you in San Mateo, upper 70s for Mountain View, and upper 70s as well for San Jose and Campbell. For the South Bay, we are tracking widespread mid to upper 70s and even low 80s. Morgan Hill warming up to 80 degrees. Livermore 77 degrees. Hayward 75 degrees. And in the East Bay, Walnut Creek and Concord 77 degrees. Saturday afternoon highs. Orinda and Moraga upper 60s. Berkeley and Oakland though 74 degrees, as is Richmond, and widespread 70s for those of you in the North Bay. Even low 80s for Yountville, but 77 degrees for Napa and Santa Rosa, 81 degrees. So bone dry conditions. So our fire season still going to continue, especially for us here in Northern California. And don't forget, this weekend, daylight saving time ends, so we are going to fall back this weekend. And let's take a look at our next 7-day outlook, because we are going to stay sunny, noticing an increase in cloud cover and cooler temperatures starting early into the week, lasting most of this upcoming work week. So a mix of sun and clouds and light to breezy wind speeds, but no rain in sight for at least the next 7 days. And it looks like through mid-November, we're not even going to see any rain in the Bay Area. So our fire danger concerns will continue even with the calm wind speeds.
Thanks, Mabrisa. You're watching KRON On, streaming Bay Area news 24/7. Firefighters are getting the upper hand on the KINCADE fire burning in Sonoma County. Let's have a look. Containment is now at 70%, and CAL FIRE expects to have it fully contained by Wednesday. The KINCADE fire has charred more than 77,000 acres and destroyed 352 buildings. About 1,600 structures remain threatened. 4 firefighters have been injured, and nobody's been killed. The Sonoma County District Attorney is reminding businesses that it is illegal to raise prices and take financial advantage of people like fire victims during state emergencies. Jill Ravitch says that her office will continue to investigate and prosecute people who price gouge. California law prohibits charging a price that exceeds 10% of the price of an item before a state or local emergency. This law applies to those who sell food, emergency supplies, medical supplies, building materials, and gasoline. It also applies to emergency cleanup services, hotel accommodations, and rental housing. There are still 3,400 people who cannot return home because of the KINCADE fire. While some have been burned out, if a house is still left standing, KRON On's Maureen Kelly found that there are many hazards left behind that pose a risk.
There are still signs of life in the evacuation zone. This buck surprised tree cutters out on Fott Road in Windsor. They're cutting down a stand of eucalyptus trees damaged by the KINCADE fire before they fall down on their own.
A lot of these trees have burned out hanging branches that could possibly fall on personnel walking through or driving through, and the roots are burned out, so it's a pretty big likelihood that these could fall over onto someone driving by just trying to get home.
Not far away, a handmade sign posted reads, "Thank you, first responders." Many homes in this area were saved, but not all. Robin Montano Pastran took me to survey wreckage off Chalk Hill Road in Healdsburg. This is all that's left of her father's home of 47 years. She helped the 94-year-old, his caregiver, and his dog evacuate to her home in Santa Rosa on Saturday. They were forced to flee once again when her area was evacuated not long after that. But now they're all back at her home while they decide where her father will go from there. He's in the advanced stages of Alzheimer's, and even if they decide to rebuild his home, it will never be the same again.
He wants to go home, and he doesn't understand why he can't, so we've told him that he can go home when it's safe to go home. And meantime, you're just going to stay with me, Dad. I'm thankful that he doesn't know what's happened. And it's gut-wrenching. It is.
Robin says her next step is to come back to this property with gloves and boots to sift through these ashes here to see if she can find any family memento that escaped the blaze. And while it would be nice to uncover some old photographs, she says she's really just grateful she and her family are safe. Maureen Kelly, KRON 4 News.
Fire investigators are blaming PG&E for fires in the East Bay. All 3 of the fires erupted on Sunday in Martinez and Lafayette. A few buildings burned, including part of a tennis club. KRON On's Justine Waldman reports from Contra Costa County after learning more about how the fire started.
As intense training happens at Contra Costa Fire, it became clear how important the skills taught here are. The fire marshal just determined PG&E started 3 fires in its protection district that damaged property and put nerves on edge.
Hopefully we can just get through it and the firefighters can stop this.
On Sunday, October 27th, 2 fires started on the sides of Highway 24 in Lafayette. The smoke poured into the sky by Pleasant Hill Road. The fire also destroyed part of the Lafayette Tennis Club. In this case, the fire marshal determined PG&E power lines caused the fire. In Martinez by Forest Way, the investigation found PG&E was behind a fire that caused people to evacuate.
A fire in Martinez on Forest Way. The cause of that was a combination of power lines and a transformer.
The Lafayette and Martinez fires burned a few acres. PG&E tells KRON 4 News power was on where the fire started. It was not impacted by the shutdown. Also, the utility is cooperating with the investigation and will respond to requests for documents and other information related to those investigations. Confire knows it could have been worse.
Would we have preferred not to fight any of those fires that put our citizenry at risk? Certainly.
I did also speak to the owner of the tennis club, and he tells me he's glad no one was hurt and right now is focused on trying to reopen. As for the final report that will determine exactly what failed on those PG&E power lines to start the fires, that should be out later on this month. In Contra Costa County, I'm Justine Waldman, KRON 4 News.
We've learned that a 5th victim has been identified in the deadly house party shooting in Orinda. Police say that a 19-year-old was killed and her name was Oceana Tompkins. They say that she was from the Vallejo Hercules area, so this now makes 5 people who were killed altogether on that Halloween night. The driver of a Jeep who crashed into a CAL FIRE vehicle died then and there after a rollover on a Sonoma County road. KRON On's Gail Long reports from the scene.
CHP and first responders remained on the scene through the night as they investigate what led to a deadly crash between a CAL FIRE SUV and a Jeep.
We received multiple 911 calls of a 2-vehicle crash here on Lakeville Highway. We're right at Old Lakeville Road.
1 man is dead, another man injured. The crash happened just before 2:40 Friday afternoon. The CAL FIRE Chevy Tahoe wound up in the field with its front end smashed. The Jeep mangled on the side of the road. Witnesses told police the Jeep was traveling northbound on Lakeville Road. The Tahoe was driving south before the 2 vehicles collided head-on.
A couple witnesses said that they saw the Jeep just for some reason kind of go out of control. We don't know why at this point. However, that out-of-control movement caused it to cross over into the opposing lanes of traffic.
The man driving the Jeep was ejected. Paramedics tried to save him, but he died on the scene.
From what we've been told, it sounds like the Jeep actually overturned at one point. The driver of the Jeep, it's an open-top Jeep. The driver was ejected, came to rest in a field on the opposite side of the roadway.
The firefighter was taken to the hospital with minor to moderate injuries. Investigators from CHP's multidisciplinary accident investigation team is helping with the case.
That was KRON On's Gail Long reporting. The name of the victim has not yet been released. In other disturbing news, in the East Bay, Oakland police are investigating a kidnapping and a robbery. This happened at around 11:30 Wednesday night on Golden Gate Avenue in the Upper Rockridge area. A man told police that he was sitting in his car near his home when 2 men wearing masks walked up to him, then covered his eyes, restrained him, and drove him to a nearby ATM and ordered him to withdraw money. The suspects then drove the victim to Berkeley and left him in his car. Police said that the suspects are 2 black men in their late teens to early 20s. One of them had a handgun. He's described as 6 feet 3 inches tall, weighing about 165 pounds. He was wearing dark clothing and a dark mask. Crime Stoppers of Oakland is offering a reward of up to $5,000 for information leading to an arrest. Friday morning's Bay Bridge shooter has not been found yet. All lanes of eastbound I-80 leaving San Francisco heading into Oakland were shut down for hours after that shooting at around 6:45 a.m. A California Highway Patrol officer was making a traffic stop when he heard the gunfire, turned around and saw a black man in a silver compact SUV shooting at another car. The victim stopped to get help. Their car was damaged, but nobody was hurt. San Jose police say that they shot a man and killed him after an officer on Halloween saw that he was carrying a gun that turned out to be fake. The shooting happened at around 2:30 in the afternoon on McKee Road. Police responded after witnesses called saying that they saw a man holding a gun. Officers found the man and told him to drop that handgun. One officer killed him when he appeared to draw the weapon. His name has not been released. A massive wildfire is devouring everything in its path in Southern California. The Maria fire has burned more than 9,000 acres in Ventura County, and now a Southern California utility company says that they shut off power to tens of thousands of people to prevent wildfires, but it restored electricity to a line just minutes before this fire ignited on Thursday night. That fire spread quickly, fueled by the powerful Santa Ana winds. Karen Kafer reports on the state's wildfires.
Flames light up the darkness. A new wildfire erupted overnight in Southern California while firefighters hope for the best amid a challenging week.
We are in the middle of a big fight. We are about a week into this, and the end is not yet in sight.
The Maria fire in Ventura County, just one of more than a dozen that have burned tens of thousands of acres up and down the state this week. Slightly improved conditions for firefighters were expected Friday. Wind speeds in Southern California, for example, forecasted far slower than the hurricane-force gusts earlier in the week. Still, red flag warnings are in effect. Conditions like wind, humidity, and temperature are ripe for fires, and millions are on alert.
Everybody here in California, they are on their toes for anything that can happen, any little spark.
In Riverside County, police said Friday the 46 fire east of Los Angeles was sparked by the damaged tires of a car involved in a police pursuit. And in the northern portion of the state's largest active fire, the KINCADE fire, continues to burn parts of Sonoma County. CAL FIRE expressing optimism about the fight Friday.
Overall, the fire looks very, very good. I spoke with the air attack supervisor last night, and his comment was everything looks good on the perimeter.
That blaze has been going since last Wednesday. I'm Karen Kafer reporting.
Now to the campaign trail. Beto O'Rourke shocked supporters by dropping out of the presidential race. Andy Rose has more on the surprise announcement.
We have to clearly see at this point that we do not have the means to pursue this campaign successfully.
And then there were 17. Democratic presidential hopeful Beto O'Rourke announced Friday evening he's ending his bid for the White House. The former Texas congressman dropped out just hours before he was supposed to speak at a dinner in Iowa along with several other candidates.
My service will not be as a candidate nor as a nominee of this party for the presidency.
In an email to supporters, O'Rourke said he would not run for any elective office next year. Aides familiar with the situation say poor fundraising played a key role in the decision.
Come here, man.
O'Rourke was a fixture in his hometown of El Paso this summer following a mass shooting at a local Walmart.
What was really beautiful was the way that this community came together yesterday, again, from both sides of the border, expressing what makes us so special, that we treat each other with respect and with dignity, unlike the president, and really celebrate what's best about America. And it's what has made us such a safe, strong, successful community.
Thank you so much.
Andy Rose, KRON 4 News.
President Trump is not holding back his excitement over O'Rourke's announcement. Speaking at his campaign rally in Mississippi on Friday, the president called O'Rourke pathetic and nasty.
Beto, did you hear? Beto. Oh, that poor bastard. Well, poor pathetic guy. He was pathetic. You come from Texas. You don't like religion, you don't like oil, and you don't have guns. I don't know, that's not a good combination in the state of Texas. Hopefully, we won't be hearing about him for a long time. It's amazing how cold you can get so quickly, but he was a nasty guy.
The president also slammed Democrats for moving forward with an impeachment inquiry. Now to some health news. A group of scientists are offering to pay you to get sick. Researchers are infecting people with influenza A. That's a famous H1N1 virus for research purposes. If you participate in the study, you'll get paid up to $3,300. Researchers want to closely monitor the symptoms to better understand how the virus works and how to control it. Brave participants will receive a nasal spray with a strain of the flu and then begin an inpatient stay for at least 1 week. They're looking for 80 healthy adults between 18 and 50 years old. Trial sites are at the University of Maryland in Baltimore, Duke University in North Carolina, St. Louis University in Missouri, and Ohio's Cincinnati Children's Hospital Medical Center. A new study says that more adults are getting diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. The rate of adults facing ADHD diagnosis has climbed significantly over the last decade. 43% of adults were diagnosed with the disorder over the 10-year period. But the study's senior author says that doesn't necessarily mean that more people are developing ADHD, but that the number could instead be rising because more cases are being diagnosed. Meteorologist Mabrisa Rodriguez is here again with another look at our weekend weather forecast.
I'm KRON On meteorologist Mabrisa Rodriguez. Let's take a look at your weekend outlook because it is going to be another chilly night. Freezing temperatures for the interior valleys of the North Bay, and that's why a freeze warning and frost advisory will go into effect starting at 2 o'clock in the morning through Saturday morning because of overnight lows 29 to 35 degrees. But everyone else in the Bay Area waking up to temperatures in the 40s and then 5 to 10 degrees above average by Saturday afternoon. Plenty of sunshine, the biggest warm up in our inland spots. Upper 70s for Concord and Livermore, 77 degrees as well for San Jose, but mid 70s along the East Bay shoreline. Oakland 74 degrees, low 70s along the San Francisco Peninsula coastline. Downtown San Francisco 72 degrees, but Santa Rosa warming up into the low 80s. And don't forget, this weekend daylight saving time ends, so we are going to fall back starting this weekend and for the next 7 days, warming up this weekend, but then by next week we are going to gradually cool down throughout most of the week and no rain in sight. Sunny skies and light and breezy wind speeds.
Thanks for the reminder, Mabrisa. Well, it's going to be a long 3 months without Warriors star Steph Curry. That's just how long the two-time MVP is expected to be out after surgery to his left hand. Specialists examined a CT scan that Curry had the day after he broke his hand on Wednesday in the third quarter of a game against the Phoenix Suns. Curry is expected to fully recover within the 3 months, and an update on his progress will be planned then. Halloween is officially over, but those leftover pumpkins are being put to good use. Check this out. The Oakland Zoo has teamed up with local pumpkin patches to donate leftovers for the animals to enjoy. And apparently a lot of animals enjoy pumpkins, from cheetahs to crocodiles to elephants, bison, and even giant tortoises. Looks like they make good snacks as well as fun toys to play with. You're watching KRON On, streaming Bay Area News 24/7.